Right, we're back with episode 57, I think, of the Midnight Pod. We're back in miserable London. Zach seems to think it's the cleanest city in the fucking world.
I mean, yeah, like just walking around it.
But we have Zach Murray from Triple Whale and Foreplay, which we're going to get into both. And obviously Ollie's co-hosting again. First episode in 2023 in the original location. Only 6 more weeks in this flat before I move to a new venue. So hopefully it will be as good, if not better, than this one. But the Barley episodes are fun. Everyone got very fucking ill. We are now back to reality, back in the trenches, and back in 2023 Midnight Pod. First question as always, and actually just for context, how well do you know each other? Because obviously you put us in touch and arranged this.
Not like massively well.
We met each other at Geek Out times
twice,
last year.
Like, we met at 2 events. So this is the third
time. And I
meeting.
messaged Foreplay support the other day on live chat trying to cancel an account because we have a duplicate one, thinking I was just speaking to some bot, because I just put like cancel, and you replied, and then I didn't reply to your nice response about, we're going to see you at the weekend. And then I was like, fuck.
A true bootstrap SAAS.
Yeah, exactly. First question, I guess, as always. Well, it's not really a question, we just dive into everything. How do you start? Like, where are you from? What do you do? We'll get into loads of shit. Because I know very little, to be honest, as is normally the case. The least researched podcast host of all time.
I don't know if that's a good thing. You keep shelling it.
I'm just kind of damn with it at this point.
Is it going to turn some people away eventually? But it works, it flows. So
yeah, probably.
So I'm from like just outside of Toronto, Canada. Moved to Toronto for like school, dropped out in second year, and then from like 16 until like 20, I was like doing a lot of just agency stuff, mainly, but not like e-com stuff, just like building websites, doing like some design stuff, a little bit like animation work, and a lot of just taking overflow from like larger agencies in the city, things like that. And then I had met a guy that was drop shipping, and I was just like, this seems pretty cool.
There's always a drop shipper.
Yeah. And
in every story.
Yeah, and he was like building a brand that he started drop shipping, and he kind of just was like spinning up new ones. And then so we just started like, we really got along, and so we started just trying new ideas, and one kind of like stuck, and we just had like a few winning products for like a bohemian home decor brand. And so we like scaled that like really, really fast, and then it like crashed just as fast as well. Along that time, like I got like introduced to like e-commerce and just like, direct response marketing and all that kind of stuff, and started to really, really enjoy it. And so along that journey, we started an agency called Foreplay, me and him. And then about like 2 years into us working together, I kind of just decided that I didn't really want like a partner anymore. And I had like a lot of ideas that I wanted to start fleshing out myself. So, we sold the e-commerce brand that at the time was like kind of like 50% drop shipping, 50% like our own products. Mainly like bohemian home decor stuff and wall art. and then so we sold the brand. I bought him out of the agency, and then I started building Foreplay. That's pretty much like the story, like the professional
Did you go to like college then? Just go back a second.
Yeah, no, so I moved to Toronto. Yeah, so I moved to Toronto when I was like 18 for college, stayed there for 2 years, but dropped out in second.
Yeah.
Like at the time I was doing a lot of just like freelance design work for like other apps, like honestly like anything you could take kind of shit, and I would just like figure it out.
Is this the first American/Canadian guest you've had?
No, it's Canadian, right? Or is he American?
No, it's American.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So
obviously had him. No, also had Jordan Welch.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I've had 2 Americans.
Just for my own reference.
First Canadian, I think.
All right.
Global.
Jordan's definitely American, I think. Yeah.
Okay. I was just checking. I'm always interested to know, like, from the outside looking in, from knowing the UK and not knowing those 2 countries, I feel like they're so much more entrepreneurial as places, which is just interesting.
Definitely seem to like
from like a
have
college perspective and
tall,
just like
tall poppy syndrome or whatever it is.
Well, Canada, like I wouldn't say is like very entrepreneurial at all. Like we have like a little bit of like spillover from the US, but like the difference in Canada and the US, like it's just like it's insane. I'm not a huge fan of Canada or like Canadians in general. Like I just don't like the way they think. They are very like scarcity mindseted, and especially if you're building like a business like that's kind of just for the Canadian market, you very quickly just only think the world is as big as Canada. And
I think you get that here. Like, English people are scarcity mindset.
Wait, yeah,
Scarcity
definitely.
mindset. They're very like hard to sell to. They're like very pessimistic, no trust. Whereas Americans are just like, take my fucking money, let's like go most of the time if you've got a good product.
I think like when I spent a lot of time in the US last year, and when I was there, what I had realized was just like how much more open people were, specifically in business, to just like take meetings, talk to you, and just like even help you. Like specifically if you're in like a sub-market, like I spent a lot of time in Austin and like Arizona, and if you're not in like one of like the big cities, there is this like feeling of like camaraderie that you guys are like working, like I don't know, it's just like a way better vibe than I've had ever like in Canada.
Yeah, because you see like the films where they're like, oh, there's like, and maybe it's not true, but there's like, there's a lot of, feels like even at college there's a lot of entrepreneurship stuff going on, whereas at universities here it just feels like
It's
there's
just
nothing.
binge drinking and fucking.
It's just like nothing. It's just education, whereas I feel like they're a lot more supportive, which is interesting. So I wonder if it's how much easier it is. There's nothing's easy, but like, obviously you say Canada sounds a bit like the UK, which is kind of relatable.
Yeah, I've never
I guess.
heard that, the comparison between Canada and the US. That's interesting. You kind of assume they're like culturally similar from the outside.
Yeah, like in a lot of ways we are like, and then obviously there's a lot of Americans in the US and a lot of Canadians in America and like that kind of stuff, but specifically I'm talking about in like business mind, like that kind of mindset is starkly different. In a lot of ways I feel like Americans, they do still kind of believe in the American dream and like all that kind of stuff, and like that's not a common kind of thing that people rally around in Canada. But still a good place to live.
With the agency, did you mainly service? So obviously you started that. And that's how what led you to Triple Whale, which we can carry on down the story, I guess. But with the agency, did you mainly service Canadian, US, and then beyond that, e-com? Just you said could have just.
Is that an
everything?
ads agency?
Sorry,
was that an SMMA agency or what?
It was once I started drop shipping, but we also were still doing like a lot of stuff that I was doing before. So
everyone starts drop shipping, even you. And me, obviously.
Way back. There's a drop shipper that forks the path in everyone's life somewhere, for better or worse. It either takes you either to go deep or or then you split again and go to non-crooked pursuits.
Yeah, legit. Quick one, fellas. You probably heard a few months ago I dropped an ecom course, a very fucking guru of me, but it's not that. I promise you, 0 to 1, how to start a brand from scratch with no budget, some budget, a bit of budget. Take your idea from a bedroom to reality to potentially 7-8 figures in sales, like I've done a few times, based on my 7 years of experience in the trenches and my current experience building my current brand, Space Goods. It's no bullshit, no frills. We've had like 75 people go through so far. Not a single person has asked for a refund. Plenty of people have actually built some seriously impressive shit. Covers every aspect of the business, not just the front end stuff like most gurus on YouTube and Twitter are talking about, not just product, marketing, all that shit, but the real shit, the logistics, the back end, the supply chain, the customer service, the finances as well. This covers the whole spectrum. Every part, 12 hours of video. If you're interested in scaling a brand, 0 to 1, actually turning your idea finally into a reality, then click the link below, go check out Learn Real Commerce course, and let me know what you think. I'd be glad to have you in there. Let's fucking go.
I mean, I was always like very much like focused on the creative side of things, doing like design and production, and then my business partner was the one doing like the ad buying. Like I've never really like honestly put much time into like buying ads myself. Like that was kind of always him, and I was just like supporting on like the other side of things. And I was also, because I was doing agency stuff before that for like a wider range of businesses, not like direct response e-commerce. I brought in like a lot of clients. There was like some apps and like gaming and stuff like that we like kind of partnered up really, really early on. They did like a Series A. We produced like a bunch of like high production commercials and like things like that. And so we did like a wide range of stuff. When it became Foreplay is when we were like very much more focused on D2C. We were using like that team to support like Nomadic Fabrics, like the brand at the time.
Who did you run that with?
It was my ex-business partner.
Oh, okay.
And I did like, it was me and him doing the agency and that, and we had like a few other like kind of degenerate drop shipping little things as well, but like
a few pump and dumps. A few pump and dumps. Yeah, nice.
Chad scale. Love to see it.
Yeah, because obviously you're very design for that. I actually think you two are very like design based, are quite similar. I feel like when you look at, not like obviously identical, but the vibe behind the way that Space Goods is branded and the vibe behind how you've taken Triple Whale, which is obviously what you're doing now, isn't that too dissimilar. And obviously I don't know you as well as I know him, but I just like I even think the way you design is very similar. The way you think is, obviously I, again, don't know the depth of your thinking as much as Matt, but from the front end looks fairly similar. And the creativity behind it, which is quite interesting.
I'm like just generally like a very nostalgic person, like in
So-
in like a lot
so
of
is
ways
he.
in my life. Like even though I do have like a lot of, I'm pretty positive about the future in my own life. I think in terms of like society, I'm much more nostalgic about like the past in a lot of ways, and that's kind of in terms of that. And honestly, like the Triple Whale stuff, in terms of like the design, it was very like, it wasn't like a master plan. It was like an iterative thing from like when we launched Pixel, and then it was like, okay, let's just like lean into this. Like people like it, and it's kind of just like went on from there. And yeah.
Wait, so I'm confused. So agency, foreplay, Triple Whale.
Oh, so
where do they all fit? And,
where do they
what's
fit?
the timeline?
So the timeline would have been middle of 2021. I was like living in Mexico with my ex-business partner. I like one day just like had this like gut feeling that's just like I want to move on from like this, and I want to do something new. Like walk downstairs, and I was just like, hey dude, I want to do something new, and like I don't want to do it with you. And like I think there's this one thing when you're doing a bunch of stuff with like one person, there's this like expectation that any new thing that you want to start, you kind of give them like first whatever. And I just like didn't want that, and so I just like I want to do something new. I want to do it alone. And
I rate that. A lot of people would be shy away from a difficult conversation like that, and I feel like some of those difficult conversations are just so necessary.
Yeah, and like I look back, it was like probably one of the best. Just like in the same way that like starting stuff with him was probably one of the best decisions I've made. Like looking back, ending it was also one of the best decisions. And then I was in like very much like a flux period. The reason, like the way that Triple Whale got like folded into it is that like I had a bunch of these like agency clients. I bought him out of the agency, and like I needed to kind of service this, even though I knew it wasn't like my long-term play. And so I was just like asking around, being like, is there any like agencies that want to like white label from like the media buying side of things?
Sorry, the agency was called Foreplay to start with, right?
Yeah, it gets a little bit kind of confusing. So like, Foreplay is an agency, and then I got introduced to like Alan Porter, who was like a friend of a friend. And I was like, hey man, can you just like take over these clients that I have from like a media buying perspective? And he did. And then he invested in Triple Whale. I took like a really early on call for the investment in Triple Whale. And then if they just started asking me to do like a lot more projects with them, like they were really lean at the time, like under 10 people.
That is a mad opportunity.
Yeah,
When
did they
unicorn, launch? Like not long ago. I took the call.
It's barely 2 years now. It's probably 20 months, maybe 22 months.
Yeah, because I took a call pretty early on with them, because I got intro to them through. I've forgotten the founder's name. AJ. I took a call with AJ, obviously the founder.
Yeah.
And he was like, we were like one of the first agencies that joined the platform, and especially definitely the first UK agency. And I was just he was just like he actually showed me like some weird influencer setup he had for his brand, that Madison Braids, and then he showed me Triple Whale, and it was just the analytics platform, and then he was like walking me through how the Pixel was coming, etc, because it was like post iOS, and they'd obviously pivoted pretty heavy towards that. But I thought that must have been like fairly early on in the process.
Oh, that's like super early on. If it's pre-Pixel,
I don't think I realised how early it on was, and then I got offered the opportunity to invest in it, and I said,
what valuation?
Must have been seed round, like pretty early. It was like minimum checks were 100k USD.
Oh, so like when I had the call, minimum checks were 25.
Yeah, so
I know people that were like getting in when it was like minimum checks 10, and it was like
so I was probably right, maybe third.
Yeah.
I think I was just before.
Hindsight's always 20/20 though, isn't it? With anything like that, because you don't know it's going to become.
It was like it was
massive.
It was pre Series A. I think it was just before you went and did the Series A.
It's like all the people that didn't invest in space goods.
Yeah, true. It was just before we invested in you, but it's like
soon.
It was pre Series A, and I was like, at the time it looked like a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, hindsight, fucking would do it 100 times over. But it's weird to look back. But it's probably it must be one of the most fastest growing valuations of a tech company in the last however many years. Not like the fastest, but like in the e-coms. But it will be up there, definitely.
Yeah.
Like
especially outside America, right? Because it's Israel based.
No,
hybrid.
The actual company's in America, but the dev team is in Israel.
Right.
There's a lot of good talent in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I had a call with a company called Fondue. Do you know them?
Okay, yeah, I've heard about them.
Yeah, they're like instead of doing discounts, they give cash back.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that as well.
I had a call with the founder, really funny sales call actually, character. But they're based. He's based in Israel. There's a lot of dev talent out there and quite a lot of e-com stuff, isn't there?
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't just if you don't know that, and someone told you that, you'd be like, what?
Yeah, I mean, they had like a couple, like as like a country, had a couple wins in terms of startups, like Waze and like some other like massive companies, right? So it's like, yeah, it's a good hub, and Yeah, it's even just like a good vibe out there in terms of like how hard people work and things like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, anyway, I pulled you away from your story. So you got intro to them through Alan, who you like the media.
Yeah. So I had the first call I ever had was like a call to invest.
Yeah.
And then they just started asking me. At the time, I had pivoted like a lot of the agency work to just doing motion design. And so we were mainly doing like motion design for software companies.
Yeah.
So just like animated explainer videos, launch videos, things like that. And that was like going really, really well, but I wanted to start software. And so I was working on at the time, like my current company, Foreplay, the software was called Addison. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll like, this could be like a good opportunity to kind of get connected to these guys who like are building in the space, all that kind of
Not
stuff.
a bad decision.
Yeah. And so yeah, we did just like couple really good projects together. We did like their launch video. We did the launch of like the Pixel. So we did all like the design and everything like that for the launch of the Pixel. And then they just kind of kept asking me to do more stuff, and then came on full time in probably like October of last year. And it's just been like a rocket ship since then. I've like learned a ton and scaled Foreplay at the same time, like the software specifically. Yeah, it's been like a ton of fun just like to build in the industry. And in a lot of ways, like I look back to when I was doing e-commerce, and it's like, if I had Triple Whale at the time, like I was very much like most dropshippers, like a very messy operator. And if I had something, like we were trying to like set up dashboards like Supermetrics and all this like bullshit, and I was like, if there was like a solution like Triple Whale, like I think my outcome with the business would have been a lot different, a lot more positive.
Well, yeah, it fixes a real problem. There's not much better vehicles to be in, other than if you don't like, especially if alongside your own company, that's probably the best vehicle to be in terms of learning and growth in the e-commerce space right now. Triple Whale as a company, to do that, how fast they're growing is pretty mad. So yeah, you've got it, but you don't use it properly. From looking in your dashboard yesterday,
Well,
there's quite a lot of competitors, but
I use the dashboard, but that's not set up properly either. I don't use the triple pixel because AKM use some other custom setup.
Yeah, they use Statless, don't they? Statless is like a competitor. There's quite a lot of competitors. It's just like
Statless looks like
horrible. It's like North
I don't
as
use
well.
it. They use it because they say they like it, but it looks like a child's fucking project.
Same with,
it looks so bad.
I mean, in a lot of ways, like it is like an internal project of an agency, right?
Thread,
so it's like if you take someone that's like only focused on software, and you take someone that's like building an agency and then trying to build software on the side, it's like you could see how like those outcomes. I mean, I do think starting software as an agency is good because you have like so much domain expertise and like the problems. But at the end of the day, it's like it is so much work to build really good software and like so much attention. And so I think if you just like play it out over like a series of time, whoever's like focused on the software is going to build a better software.
That's what I mean.
Right?
Like there's that Northbeam Triple Whale argument, which was a weird thing.
Never even heard Northbeam.
Northbeam's again. It's like it is fundamentally quite a good product, but it looks horrible when you use it. And now I feel like Triple Whale at the size and valuation that it's at it's now almost the same as making a decision between Shopify and another e-com platform. It's now, why would I choose something that has a smaller dev team, that's going to release features way slower, that's iterating slower, that's not supporting the community as much? So it's just a no-brainer to choose Shopify. We actually we're about to onboard a client who decided to move away from Shopify to save
WordPress or some bullshit.
To some fucking platform called Odoo, which is just like, I got on a call with him. I was like,
I don't understand how these platforms get customers.
Please don't do this. I was like, please just don't do this. Like, you should convert. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. But he's done it, and his website's horrible. Hopefully, he doesn't listen to this. If he does, he does. It's just one of those decisions that it's just like, when you actually think about it logically, it makes no sense to use something else.
Yeah,
it's funny.
What did I use briefly like 2 years ago? I've forgotten the platform. What's the other one? Not WooCommerce.
Oh, BigCommerce.
Yeah, BigCommerce.
Yeah, I remember
I've forgotten why now. There was some reason because with the neon setup.
I think it was custom. I remember you doing that, and I remember you going, "That's a terrible idea."
There was some custom setup I couldn't do on Shopify, and then I remember thinking, "What the fuck have I done?" It's just like so much admin.
It's just stupid.
It's shocking. So Foreplay the app then. Mm-hmm. So the agency is originally called that. You get involved in Triple Whale from the agency, and then it becomes full time. What then happens to the agency, and then how does that become? There's always these fucking flies, by the way. How does that become the app?
The app.
As it is today?
When I bought my partner out of the agency, I knew I wasn't going to keep doing agency stuff. We kind of just kept servicing clients because, like, one, they were
Cash
a little
flow.
bit reliant on us, and like the cash flow wasn't bad.
Yeah.
And so I was like, most of my like dedicated focus time was going towards like, I want to build software. And so I had like 4 or 5 different ideas, and I was just like playing with them and just running little tests and like talking to people I knew.
Yeah.
And like whatever, it was called Addison at the time, the saving ads from Facebook and stuff like that. I was like, that's the one where I had like the most positive response. I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and build this. And so I found like a developer on Upwork. I did like all of the UI design myself, and then we built like an MVP and then launched it. And then for like the first like few months, just like working through like all of like the bugs that come with like having a software, and just stuff that like most people that sign up don't tell you there's a bug. And so if you're only getting like 2 signups a day, it takes like multiple days for you to even realize that bug exists. And like one of them, for example, was like, for the longest time,
What the fuck is this? Space Goods, spacegoods.com, Rainbow Dust version 1, my newest entrepreneurial ecom brand venture. I spent 6 months in the trenches building this shit from scratch. We launched 6 weeks ago. What's it all about? The next generation wellness brand with a long-term vision to essentially consumerize the pending psychedelic consumer goods market, which might sound absolutely ridiculous. We're not quite there yet. The market's massively illegal. But what is this? Rainbow Dust version 1 is an all-in-one mushroom and adaptogenic blend designed to unlock your supernatural self. Essentially, experience a sharper focus, sustained energy, zen-like calm throughout the day. It's an all-in-one powder, tastes like fucking hot chocolate, tastes delicious, works great, looks great, feels amazing. Essentially, the broader concept here was to legally imitate a psychedelic microdose, and like I said, experience those symptoms. You can mix it with anything, brownies, bake brownies with it, mix it with your coffee, have it without coffee, replace your coffee, put it into a protein shake. It's super fucking versatile, it tastes great, it replaced the stack of supplements I was previously taking, but you need to try this shit. It would definitely change the way you work, get you into that deep workflow. I obviously think that myself. Plenty of 1,000+ first customers think the exact same shit. It's not just the pretty packaging, it actually works really fucking well. Keto, vegan, all that good shit. Trust me, you need to try it for yourself. Let's scale this shit to the moon. Spacegoods.com. Get on your Rainbow Dust subscription and see how you fucking feel. Let's do it for the boys. Spacegoods.com.
if you downloaded the Chrome extension, your browser language wasn't in English, it just like completely didn't work, because like
that's a pretty big problem,
right? But like if I never changed my browser, but like most people would just like sign into it, they would try it and like, this isn't fucking working, and then whatever, and it took like, there was no way, like there's no logical way for us to ever you know think about this, and it was because like the Chrome extension was like injecting itself on the page and attaching to a word that, if that word was different, no longer would exist.
That's bad.
And so it's just like little things like that is like what we had worked through. And so yeah, the transition from agency to app was like it took a while. Like it was just like you kind of kept building, and then when you're building a software, it's like most people start with like freelancers and stuff like that if they don't have a technical co-founder, but like that gets old really quick. Like you just can't, not having someone that's like invested in the project from a technical point of view, it's like almost impossible. And so like even when I talk to people that are like building a software and they're like, oh, I have like this team that's working on it, and I was like, okay, that's good. Like it's going to get you your MVP, but like 100% of your time outside of that should be going to like finding a technical co-founder or like someone that can just come onto the project and be like committed to it.
Noah's got some horrible stories around around his CTO setup.
Who does?
Noah from Social Snowball.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, his
has
is like
some
horrible.
horrendous stories. But I think you might have got into them on your pod already.
Yeah, a few.
Do you have a technical co-founder? Wait, before context, if you go to foreplay.co, just explain what you'll explain it better than me.
Give a little pitch
Just,
what it is.
just so everyone knows what it is.
I use it, by the way.
I
So
also
there you go.
we use it for both our agencies and our e-commerce company.
Yeah, so
every day.
Yeah, Foreplay is like the best way to manage your pre-production process for ad inspiration, briefing, everything like that. And so we have a Chrome extension that lets you save ads from Facebook ad library, from TikTok. Like everybody kind of knows, if you've used Facebook ad library, the pain of copying a link, sending it to someone, that ad gets taken down. Now it like shoots a 404. And so we allow you to build mood boards from Facebook ad library, from TikTok Creative Center and TikTok Organic, share boards, share links with your internal team. And we also have a discovery library that is like every ad saved from everyone on the platform. And so you can like search that by keyword, and
that's mad. That's a massive. That's one of the biggest value adds. The thing you're bringing out soon about the time that an ad's been up.
Yeah. So that's fully in the live
now.
now. Yeah, so
it's doing basically.
Yeah, basically, because if you're not going to run it out for 1,000 days, if it's not printing money for you consistently, I mean, in most cases. So
we have like close to 200,000 ads now saved by our users, and so now you could like, did a couple filters. It's not in the platform yet, but I could, like a couple filters myself, and I was just like, okay, search just like dogs. And then sort by longest running, and like you find just like winners, you know, that have just been like, okay, this has been running for 3 years. And so people have been using that, and then we've also just launched like a briefing feature for briefing your editors, briefing content creators and stuff like that. And so the overall vision is to, from the moment like a media buyer or someone on the team is like, we need new ad creative, all the way through that asset being ready to like deploy in platform, we want to like own that workflow.
I think the cost to value ratio is it's the best app we use for our business.
Gonna put its price up now.
Yeah, but it is like for other than maybe just because other than Notion, just because that's what we run all the company through.
I've never touched that.
It's just like you need a PM software. Like it's so mad how many businesses don't have a project management software. Yeah, because you're obviously you don't. It doesn't surprise me at all. You have to have a PM above a certain size.
Well, I've used ClickUp before, but I just sacked it.
Yeah, you have to have something above a certain size because otherwise it's communication bottlenecks, which are just annoying. But other than that, I think it's with how important creative is, it's the best value for money software you can get if you're an e-commerce owner or agency.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way.
So, yeah.
How much does it cost to build a software like that? And at least like how much time initially when you went from like idea? Because you said you had a few ideas. So
going from idea,
why did you land on that one as well?
On just talking to people.
Fit.
Yeah, just talking to people like, yeah, I would use that, or like, yeah, I have that problem. And I was talking to a friend actually who has like another software company. His is in like the sales niche, but he built his app off of like LinkedIn Sales Navigator and like just adding more functionality to that. And so I saw a lot of parallels, like talking to him being like, oh, like I can build this software off of Facebook ad library. Like there's already adoption that people use Facebook ad library.
That's what they say that you should do. You should either build on top of something that people use at scale, or you should iterate on something that's already better and make it like 5% better than it is, or have a different feature. Yeah,
so that was kind of like the thesis around it. And like I had the problem myself. Like when I was running the agency, I had everybody in the team always... we had like a weekly call. It's like everybody needed to bring 5 new ad ideas to the table for like all of our clients, and like they were putting them in like these like slide decks. Like it was like hard to like they couldn't embed the videos. It was just like the most annoying process. And so like I always just wanted this tool to build mood boards of ads anyway. And so it just seemed like it was like the one that was like the most aligned to a problem that I was having. And then when talking to people, it was like, oh yeah, that. But like to be fair, there was like a large gap between like our MVP, which like solved the problem, but like wasn't that great to use. Yeah. And like we really didn't start growing until we solved the problem and it was like a great product to use.
How long was that between the first version?
Probably 3 or 4 months. And like in that process was finding like a technical co-founder who I found through a friend. He first came on like still working a full-time job as a developer at a different company. And then eventually he went full-time April of this year.
We've just MVP'd an app just in terms of technical co-founder. We don't have a technical co-founder right now.
What's the app?
It's a peer-to-peer betting app starting in the gaming niche.
Dude, you told me this idea when we were in Barcelona. And I was like, I've always wanted this because like I'm not really a gambler, but I love betting against my fucking friends. You know,
it's like a peer-to-peer betting app where the goal is to facilitate. I don't know if I should say this because we're only in MVP stage. Maybe we.
Oh yeah, because all the fucking viewers are gonna start.
It cost us a lot to build an MVP. For an app on your phone, I was so unaware how fucking expensive it is to even get to a point where it's.
Oh, you've done that already?
Yeah.
Is this one you're trying to raise money for?
Yeah, we're raising money at the moment. We're going to need a fair whack of cash to turn it into a working product. But it facilitates peer-to-peer betting. So if I was to say I bet you £5, well, I don't really play games anymore, but like it's starting in the gaming niche. So if I was going to play with like FIFA or something, we'd be like £5, both put it into the platform, winner submits proof and takes it. But the vision is to get to a point where if you were going to play golf against someone, if you were going to bet on anything, peer-to-peer, so me to you, you'd use this app rather than cash. So like obviously now we use quite a lot of cash in society. I do think eventually it would probably be cashless.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise how expensive it is. We either need to raise a lot of money or find a technical.
How expensive has it been?
I think it cost us $260K to get an MVP.
Holy shit.
What?
It's pretty like laborious.
You spent all that yourself?
200K. No, we've got a couple of like seed investors.
Oh right, so already got that.
Yeah, but we're trying to raise like VC money of about 3 mil. like a significant amount of money.
Have you even got could customers use it yet?
No, it's ease based, which makes it harder.
How is it that fucking hell?
It's a working MVP, but there's a lot of
there's also like a lot of compliance with that kind of shit.
Yeah, there's
right?
a lot of maybe I've got that number wrong. I can't even remember. I can't remember what we paid, but it was around 200 grand. It's just so just the dev work is expensive.
Wait, so who's doing this? You and Joe?
Me, Joe, a guy called Will, and then we've got a couple of seed investors.
I swear you have a new business every week.
We've been doing that for
I feel like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
years.
I've got one brand and a podcast.
Not really that. At the moment, we've been doing the pitch deck and stuff. So
2 years?
It's been in the process.
All right,
2 years.
fucking hell. I thought you were doing 2 months ago.
But I don't want to bounce off onto that conversation. It's another day.
No, that's interesting.
But from the outside looking in, it's just
the MVP was $5,000. Is what I put into it.
That's not bad at all.
It wasn't bad, but
that's sensible. That sounds smart.
To be fair, I did a lot of the work myself. I built an entire prototype using Webflow actually, so that I could give it to the developer and be like, "This is what I want it to look like exactly," and it was reusable code that he could copy and paste originally.
So you're not technical at all, then?
I would not consider myself some people would consider me technical, but I'm definitely not technical.
Yeah.
You're better than an average person.
Yeah, I don't write code.
Yeah.
But I can manage around, and when I was doing agency stuff, I worked with a ton of startups. I've been building websites for a long time, and so there's a little bit of whatever knowledge rub off kind of stuff like that.
I have a theory. Well, not a theory, but I just want to get your take on this because I'm definitely creative first, sort of figured out the business shit after, but still don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But I definitely think that's the better way around for 0 to 1 than being the MBA type who, I know some of them are clearly very smart, probably better at running a business than I ever will be, but they just can't do the 0 to 1 by themselves. They have to hire a load of people and hire a fucking branding agency.
Yeah, well,
do you know what I mean?
I 100% agree, and it's all these anybody that ever told me they were going to school for business, I was like, why are you going to school for business? Because at the end of the day, if you're going to start a business, they're probably fucking great at running a business, but if you're starting a business, your customers aren't buying a business. Your customers are buying a product, and they're buying a feeling, or they're buying all that kind of shit, and inherently business students probably under index on emotional intelligence and things like that, right? And
Definitely.
so they're just not really the people. But to be fair, I'm not great at running a business.
I'm probably the other way. I would really struggle to go from 0 to 1 without having some cash. Which is why the agency was a good vehicle for us, because Facebook ads is data. Used to be when we started was data and just knowing how to run Facebook ads and then offering that to a service where people didn't know. If I couldn't start a creative agency, I couldn't start a brand without leveraging cash flow from the businesses we already have to employ someone to do the branding for it. I would struggle to go from 0 to 1 in any other aspect other than a service-based business, I think. There's probably businesses other than that I'd be all right in. Trading time for money, basically.
Yeah,
in a skill that I know I can do, but I wouldn't
actually like running a business.
Yeah, I know you do. I've told you this. This is why you need to position
yourself.
yourself.
I've got better at it, but
that's position. You do like running a business, but you should. But running a business is positioning yourself in the highest leverage position within that business.
True.
So there's a lot of creative. There's a lot of I think a good example of that will be influencer-led brand. Mr. Beast is a really high-level example of that. The businesses he runs, he doesn't run the ops for him. He just does the ideation in the videos. Feastables, for example, he doesn't do anything other than become the face of that. Beast Burger, those sort of shit. That's similar to you, but on a much bigger level.
Yeah.
So you're doing, it is about kind of positioning yourself. But I agree. I think I would struggle. You two could rip business ideas from 0 to 1 really easily. I probably couldn't.
It's my favorite part.
Yeah, it's your favourite part as well,
certainly.
Yeah, it just needs to
ideas.
Stick.
Yeah,
stick on one.
Yeah. No, it's always been my with Foreplay, I've been really, and to be fair, because I'm still contributing at Triple Whale, that's kind of what's kept me focused.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, and I'm kind of grateful for it because I was always wanting to and I still already have a ton of other app ideas that I want to build out and other business ideas, but I'm it kind of really keeps me centered. It's just just kind of work on these 2 projects that have a very similar customer cohort, and so all of my time now is only thinking about software for
e-commerce.
D2C brand D2C brands, or just even just people spending in direct response is kind of like where my head's at.
Yeah, you sound similar. Like you have always have this like shiny object syndrome for new brands, and it sounds like you somewhat have that shiny object syndrome
I'm
for
now
new
just
SaaS.
trying to keep my shiny object within the same brand, so like new product in the same brand rather than new brand.
Yeah,
which I would have done
what's
in the
interesting
past.
is like that's kind of where I'm at. So like I've got this like weird. I've had this desire to like make a coffee table book for like the longest time.
Yeah.
And so this year I was like, okay, like I want to have like a creative side project, and I want it to be a coffee table book. But like, how can I make this like make sense in terms of whatever, or just justify it to myself, justify it to like my logical self. And so like right now I'm working on a coffee table book that's called 100 Years of Foreplay, and it's 100 years like the best vintage advertising of all time in copywriting.
Yeah, that's
a sick idea.
And so
like
like
the
I'm working,
Porsche ads and like the
Porsche ads and like I mean car ads inherently in going
Used
through
to
this
be so
process. They're definitely the ones like over indexed, but I want to make it so it's not just a car ad coffee table book.
There's some incredible cigarette ads.
Oh yeah, all
incredible
that kind of stuff.
cigarette ads, like and beer ads, and like Guinness has got some unreal ads. When you go, because I feel like when you're going back for advertising, further back, like now it's a lot like broader, but it used to just be like massive conglomerates making like cigarettes, beer, like House P&G and stuff like that, like really big companies. So you're a bit
all
like
the stuff they used to say and do is now banned because it's like too offensive.
Yeah.
The Porsche ads are so sick.
Yeah.
That is a really good idea.
There's one I'm thinking of.
I also think it
forgotten
could
what
be-
it says.
It's like they don't look at you in a.
Well, there's like a few. There's
one
a
I have in my
Lamborghini
head.
one that's like there's actually a Volkswagen one that's like a Volkswagen full of people. It's like Lamborghini, like something like a Volkswagen or a Lamborghini holds like one girl, like
Yes, I've seen
a
that.
Volkswagen Buzz holds like 11 or whatever. And there's like a bunch of like all that kind of shit I really fucking enjoy. And then
I love
I
it.
have like we're talking about like nostalgia. Like I have like a longing for like old school, just like the way advertising was done, which was like there was like a few massive agencies that did all of the advertising, and there was like a few massive ad men that like dictated the way that like all of America perceived everything. And it's just like I don't think it's ever going to go back to that, but I definitely like that idea.
Like Mad Men, that series.
Yeah.
All that shit.
Is it David? What's the copywriter? The really famous one.
Oh, David Ogilvy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Ogilvy's obviously a massive agency, isn't it? They must have done a lot of that. I think that's a really good idea. I think I'd probably buy that book. I think it's a cool book.
I'm trying to bring back a bit of fucking retro advertisement. These 80s movies, just beautiful
Those
girls,
look sick. You've been
beautiful
posting, like,
girls
the
and pink
screenshots.
lights.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like that's the new product, Dream Dust, that I'm fucking pitching on the coffee table there. So, yeah, that's going to be chaos when that comes out.
I love 80s, like
It's very
80s,
unnecessary. It's just
70s,
beautiful.
80s. I think 70s and 80s, and even some early 90s. I think that's like pinnacle of like the balance between modernity and like retro, and it's like they come together to be like such a nice mix. Like 80s and 90s fashion, I much prefer to like a lot of the nowadays stuff. That's a cool idea.
I'd be like I pretty much work on it just on Sundays right now.
Yeah.
Just like curating, and then I'm like trying to figure out if I need to find copyright for every single one of these old ads I find to put it in print, and just like figuring that out. But the goal is to have it in print by December 31st of this year, and I think it could be even just like a good like Trojan horse for the software into getting into larger agencies. Like I think inherently it's like a really good gift to like
100%.
plus 1,000 person agencies, and then it's like opens up potentially a call and just like all that kind of stuff. And I didn't
even think about it.
I really want the thing that I make to just be like on people's coffee tables. Like I think.
Yeah, even in like that'd be a great way to get big agencies onto the software. Just send them this book you've made.
Yeah,
and that is the opposite of software. A big hard printed. It's hardware.
Yeah, it is. That's sick. That's a sick idea.
And it's timeless. That's cool. Yeah, that is sick. So Tripperwell, is that officially full time now? Is it still like an agency relationship?
No, it's not.
Did you join the team?
I joined the team. In October of last year.
So 21 or 22?
20. Fuck,
it's
I
23
all this
now,
shit's fucking blending together.
No,
21. 21.
Yeah, right.
Terrible time frames.
21.
Post-COVID.
So it's 23 now, which is fucked.
Yeah, that's fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, 21. October 21 was when I started kind of like full time. And then, it's been, like I said, it's been like a rocket ship. And it's just, people love the product.
How many people was then compared to now?
When I joined, it was between 8 and 12, and now we're 130.
Is that a fully remote team, or is that?
No, it's not fully remote. We have
offices?
hubs. So like I'm fully remote, but we have hubs in Austin for marketing, Columbus for operations, and like that's where the founders are, and then Israel for dev and like a little bit of operations. I flew from Israel here, and we did like a 1 week sprint there. It's been like I said, it's been a great time. Like, and like building something that people actually like use every day and like love is just like forever.
But did you get equity?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The key question.
Yeah. Fuck.
It's got a cult following, I'd say, almost. Like not quite on.
Have they built that brand on Twitter? Because that's my experience of that.
Yeah.
Or is
Yeah,
that
it's actually insane how much I think Twitter's contributed to like a very large valuation to a company.
100%.
Like,
but I think like that's possible with that platform, especially now. Like if you look at how, I think Elon Musk put something out the other day about how Tesla started properly tweeting in December about like car updates and like just things they were making about, and the impressions they're getting off that platform and the contribute, because they don't do marketing. That's like a famous thing. They don't have a marketing department. They have like no spend on marketing. It's all word of mouth. But now that's been their first active like marketing pursuit, and it's crazy the impressions. There's a graph. It's just literally like the most exponential thing ever. They're getting hundreds of millions of impressions from these tweets. I think like there's sub niches for everything on Twitter. Like our Twitter feeds will be so far removed from other people's. Like D2C Twitter is like such a bubble,
D2C,
but it feels quite. It is
Twitter.
quite big. But it's
It's
not.
not,
It's
though.
not that big. No,
it's a lot of a circle jerk. To be fair, like it's like when I talk to people that are in D2C that don't know about D2C Twitter, like, what are you fucking talking? They think that I'm joking. Like they're like, are you serious? And then they'll get on, and then like 2 weeks later, they're like, oh, I can't believe I didn't know about this.
Yeah. And then it's like there's D2C, then there's like money Twitter that surrounds it. It's just like it's like there's this safe space in the middle, and then you get into this toxic
it's just like
extremity.
Hoes and cash, like fucking OnlyFans agency.
Like a lot of the advice in there is great, but some of it's funny, and it's just like whatever.
Just like a lot of based on tweeting platitudes.
Red pill. It's like red and
a rouge pill. That is a very dark red.
It's so funny. But even that's like seems big, but it's pretty niche.
Yeah.
And there's like a few people who are like massive in it, but like still fairly small.
Isn't it mad how the world, like when you say like, oh, the world's a small place? Because I've been speaking to loads of VCs recently and so on, and literally every single one knows each other. They'll say, oh, you spoke to my friend the other day at this other fund. I'm like, what? Was there 20 people in the whole fucking world that are in this industry? But that's what it feels like.
Yeah, it feels like it's a pretty small industry.
But then someone else in like some fucking steel mining industry will feel the same about their little club.
Yeah. It's actually insane how... I do think that just like the number of people who are actually doing things in the world, like creating things, it is very small. Like the actual number when you compare it to the population of a city. Like for example, if we took London, like, and then you say like, how many people are actually making businesses, and then how many people are making businesses that are online first. It's like, and then you compare that to like the population of the city. It's like probably less than 1%.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
I think this is why, like, when you create rather than consume, you get
that's what
it's just
all about,
such a good mind. Like I think that's such a fun. If you stop consuming and start creating, regardless of vertical, I think your life would just change just by that decision alone. Just because of like because not many people do it.
I had like a tattoo gun for a while, and I tried to give myself a tattoo like on my leg right here that said like creativity over consumption.
Yeah.
But I realized, and I started doing it. My back like froze up, and like I don't have the flexibility, so now I just have like a C on my upper side. I never got through the rest.
You
of
should
the rest
use that
of
ink box, semi-permanent freehand pen.
Finally get it through.
And then you
test it for 2 weeks.
That's
That's pretty much how the economy works, though.
Yeah,
it's why creators and consumers, and like there's probably like 99 consumers for every one creator generally.
And it's always happened. I think like I feel like it's always been like that as well. But the gateways to being a creator has just become, the barriers to entry of being someone who can create and distribute stuff has fallen massively over the last like 20 years, and it'll continue to fall probably. Maybe less, but like TikTok, Twitter, like being able to put things out is inherently easier, whereas the method of the method of like putting out a message was like TV and print media, which the gateway to was really hard a while back, which is why probably 5 people control the narrative of how people thought in America, which is interesting, but maybe a bit deep.
It's probably similar now for most people though.
Yeah, because most
the way
people consume
censorship's going on and shit.
People consume fucking mainstream news. I can't remember the last time I read a news article or news other than sport. That's the only thing that I read.
Recently, like within the last 8 months, I've decided to kind of just like more or less be like ignorant towards like world events and shit like that, because it's just like
it's net negative to know.
It's not negative to know, and like at the end of the day, it doesn't really affect us, and just like if you take all of that like energy and just like focus on like the 10 closest people to you, it's like you're gonna get way more like return from that than just like taking your energy and attention and like.
I think it's a privileged position to be in, to not have to have like care about any of that in some way, but that's just like.
But then, like, I argue with my parents about the fact I don't watch the news, and they're like, "Oh, you know nothing about the world," and it's just like end of conversation. But you say it's a privilege, but I think it's just.
It's also
that's
choice.
how you put yourself in a better position, isn't it? By focusing on what you can control and creating rather than just mindlessly consuming. Like most people will go to a job and then come back and fucking watch the news for 2 hours or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's just like, how is that working for you? It's not even enjoyable.
It's just an energy sap, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then people are scared to create shit because you're always shit when you start and you don't know anything when you start. Do you know what I mean?
I think.
I wish I'd done more YouTube stuff when I was 19.
I think,
but I thought I had nothing to speak about.
Dude, I've been trying to do YouTube for. It's like the one thing that I've like consistently failed at my entire life was just like YouTube stuff, and it's just like because I look back and I'm like, fuck, like I wish. Like I look back on like the videos I've made, and I'm like, I'm so glad I made those, and it's just like, how do I have that much perspective? And then day to day, even now, like I'm not doing it. Like I even just like it from like a personal like I look back at old videos now. I'm like, oh, it's so cool being able to just like jump back in time. It's like a journal, but like way more rich in terms of like everything.
Is yours more of a time thing? You don't do it because of time.
I think I've always overthought it.
I was about to say, I think.
But
95
what sort of videos were you and do you want to make? Just like vlogs or what?
Kind of vlogs. Like for a while, I was just doing like. I was really obsessed with personal development, and so I always wanted to make like a YouTube channel that was just like me reviewing like personal development things, whether it would be like going to like a Tony Robbins thing or like, okay, I'm going to go and like fucking do DMT and like document it and just like
that would be a good series.
Kind of be like kind of just be like a guinea pig in a way. Like I always really loved how like Tim Ferriss was kind of like the productivity person's guinea pig of the world. And
like you try ice baths for 3 weeks and be like, this is what I'll change my life.
So one of my most successful video was me building a DIY ice bath back in 2018, and it has like 400,000 views, and like I still get like Instagram followers of like people asking me questions of like, oh, when you did this, like
that's a really good idea for a channel, to be fair. It's a really
but I love that shit, you know.
The thing with that sort of channel, and just channels in general though, is you'll say, oh, maybe it's not a good idea, blah blah. Everything's a good idea when it gets views. The same way like every band name is stupid until they're famous.
Every logo and brand name is stupid.
Do you know what I mean?
Like
Dude,
Nike.
If Gymshark was small, you'd say it was such a shit name.
Yeah, Nike. Not even Nike's logo, like the tick.
Yeah,
like, it's shit.
Everything is shit until it's famous.
It's massive. Yeah, and it's like it's the same. You overthink it, but then you probably overthink it. But most people do it because they're scared of other people's opinions. I think, like they're fundamentally scared.
I think
of
I've finally got past that with the YouTube stuff.
Yeah, I don't really care about.
There's nothing I haven't put online.
What are you doing on YouTube right now?
Well, I have the pod, and then I have this documenting the journey series. Where I just make a shit video every week of me building this brand.
Okay.
And it's the ultimate accountability exercise because I'm just publicly saying this is what I'm trying to achieve, and I'm literally updating people even when it's good and bad. But it's literally like it's me at that fucking desk usually. There's no production, and like thousands of people watch every week.
Yeah, it's just raw.
Like
but it's also
like
I don't think I've ever seen anyone start a business and make a
journal.
weekly video until like hopefully the point where it's massive.
I think you'd probably get.
I'm also just doing it for me.
I also think yours becomes it's alongside the pod. It's a marketing activity. Like it's not going to drive massive growth, but it's still going to drive incremental revenue. You doing those videos to the audience that you're doing it to, because some people will share that with people, and then it's going to bring people into your ecosystem. I think like you could probably do it with foreplay as well. You'd probably get his is just like talking about problems. Reflections and then forward looking is pretty much it. Like this is what happened this week. This is what we're gonna do. basically. With a bit of
because
personal
even now,
shit.
I look back 6 months ago, like the first one, it's like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
kinda cool.
I honestly would do it if no one watched it. That's like the decision I made.
I think it'd be good. You'd probably enjoy it. Like that could be like it's such a low effort way to start YouTube. The key to it is having a little bit of a moat around your business so no one rips it. Which I guess you do.
I almost think it gives a bigger moat by doing that, because like if someone comes along and rips my brand tomorrow, like there's so much proof that I did it first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
I've
mean?
never been someone that's like scared of like people like
I
copying
think
my
yeah,
shit.
people are too scared of
No.
ideas being stolen. Ideas
Yeah.
mean nothing. Like,
That's the thing I hated about.
all
To be
excuses,
fair, like in the
isn't it?
dropshipping niche, it's a
In
little,
dropshipping,
it's
yeah.
like a
That's
little,
what
it's
I
a
mean,
little
like-
bit, it's like a little bit reasonable.
Yeah.
But I remember like when I first started dropshipping, I would get around with like these new people that I was like meeting, and they were all just like, oh, like none of them would tell me what they're working on. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed
I
to
used to have
trust
a
you? With,
flatmate, and I lived with him for a year. And me
You
and
didn't
the
know
other
what he
flatmate
did?
didn't work.
insane.
He would work in his room, and if he's watching this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And he would not leave his room because I know he was doing like some grey hat shit. And you just,
You shouldn't be working on something that you can't
how
tell
are you making
people.
money?
Dude,
right
I
now?
always found like I remember like being in these like groups with people, and I was just like, you guys are fucking like lame.
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
just like if everything has to be a secret,
Yeah.
like
Even in dropshipping, I think like fundamentally you're competing on marketing. You should just back yourself to outmarket them.
Yeah.
You should, obviously, like not in maybe the first 2 months of launch, 3 months of launching it. You should try and get a bit of market share and not give someone your products that's winning. But beyond that point, it's literally. I also think e-com's been this for a while. It's like it's just been getting product market fit, and then the leverage has come in the marketing. Now it's I feel like it's transitioning more to like supply chain and ops and bigger things, but. Yeah, like you shouldn't really be.
the good thing about software is that even when like people copy you, it's like I've had 2 messages from people. So I have this like thing. I'm like a pretty ruthlessly competitive person. But like I'm not. People think like I'm like anti-competition in a way. I'm definitely like not anti-competition. But like if someone's gonna like
rip
stuff, like all of my energy should go in towards like making them feel like they wasted their life doing it. So I have this like tweet that I put out being like, whatever. Like I have a bunch of copycats. Like all like, and I just like have this thing that every time I find like a new copycat cat, I'll send them a link to the tweet. And what's hilarious, I have like 3 now where people like full outs just like copied the software and like copied like code from like our buttons and like all this type of shit. And then like recently I've had like a few messages like that just like pop up in my inbox of like these people, and like it's like the response to the thing they never responded to, being like, hey, like I'm quitting, like do you want to buy it? We have like this many signups, this many whatever. And it's just like but that's the nice thing about software is like there is just like if you have like a good product, it's not as simple as like someone finding the AliExpress link and then just like running your ads
Much
and like
higher
ripping your
barrier
shit.
to
It's
entry,
like
yeah.
it's like much harder. Like the actual product can't be. There's a level of execution that needs to happen to like copy the product.
Yeah. It's like you're stacking things there.
Typical wine break midway through the pod. So obviously Triple Whale and Foreplay, not a bad position to be involved in both. How old are you?
26.
Fuck, you're younger than me. I'm 27.
27.
I'm 25.
25. Oh, we got a nice little train.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say like I'm 19 or something. There's always like, if you don't know someone's age, there's always a risk they're going to throw everyone off.
Oh, there's the odd person who looks a lot older than they look as well.
Yeah.
We were talking about one earlier.
He looks about 50.
Yeah, he does.
And he's what,
He's
24?
26.
Fucking hell.
He's a dad.
There's got to be a genetic like thing going on there.
Oh, it must be heavy though.
That's like
Imagine when
Robert
you get to,
Wadlow, world's tallest man.
Imagine if you get to like 70 and you look like 110.
I think it has a bigger effect when you're younger.
It's one big flake.
Where do you think, like, where is Triple Whale going first? Like, what's the vision with that? I mean, obviously.
Yeah, Triple Whale is like very much like large vision, venture backed to the moon type kind of swing.
Can you talk about that?
Is it already venture backed?
Yeah.
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 So
We've
they've raised
raised a
tens
lot
of
of money.
millions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you say how much it's worth, the valuation or not?
I don't think I can. It's
I can
more than 100 million, less than $1 billion.
I think I'm pretty sure on another podcast I heard it was around 400 mil, but that's me saying that, not you. And I feel like that I could be wrong, but it's
How many
around-
users do they have? Like, is that probably knowledge?
Yeah, it's like between 5,000 and 7,000
Like paying?
paying.
Yeah,
I swear they put the prices up.
Yeah, they probably. Well, they
So I know it's-
Prices, no,
Last week I got billed and I was like, hold on.
it's bolt-on features, I think.
It's bolt-on features or if your revenue.
Yeah, increases revenue threshold. You probably passed the revenue threshold because that's like data.
Ah,
the amount of
definitely did,
data
yeah.
they have to process through their APIs. I'm assuming. I guess.
Because did Triple Whale have something similar to Foreplay built in, no? Am I imagining
No,
that?
they
Like,
have,
they have some creative thing.
they have a creative analysis tool to like
Right.
analyze your
I've
own
never used
creative,
it.
which is much more of like a direct competitor to like something like Motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We use Motion, to be fair.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me the other day.
Motion is really good. So,
Yeah, I was talking to Reza, the founder, the other day. He's a
Yeah.
super cool guy.
Yeah, I really like their products. And like Triple Whales is good. It's just again like we were using Motion when that came out, and it's like, can I really be asked moving across?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's like
Changing processes for anything.
yeah, it's got to be a massive step in value to change that across a lot of people. But theirs works as well. Like, I've used it on like a smaller scale, and the creative hub's good.
Is Triple Whale pretty much trying to be like the data hub for
Shopify.
online businesses?
Yeah.
Like
That you're actually
entirely.
like probably like throwing the ball a lot further than like the average person would see. But it's like right now we're obviously like just growing inside of Shopify. Like Triple Whale doesn't work on like WooCommerce.
Yeah, it don't work
Like,
on
it doesn't.
anything.
It's not even
Only
like
just works on Amazon. Literally this week.
yeah. This
Gone.
week it just started working on Amazon. So but like the long term vision for Triple Whale is to be like a smart data platform for online businesses.
The big data play behind that is ridiculous as well, which is
Yeah.
probably people don't appreciate. Like when you have
There's a
access
guy
to
on an
that,
island that's going to make a big offer for something like
when
that.
when you have access to that much cross sectional data, if you're someone who has the money to launch e-com brands or even just brand, I don't know if you're allowed to use it. You're allowed to analyze it. Like they can't really stop you. I'm assuming if you put it into the platform, the big data behind that must be so crazy.
The obvious transition, like they could become something like, obviously, they could become like a lender, like Wayflyer on the side, because they have all the data. It's a similar thing to Conjura. How
that kind of stuff's like obviously on the roadmap. I know like
could become a fucking VC fund in itself.
and like you
because
have like every piece of data about
That's what I mean.
they have
yeah.
like all the due diligence on every brand pretty much. Obviously they don't have the P&L and everything, but well, they do to an extent.
yeah.
But they've even got a product. You probably haven't used it, but there's a product which
The finance one.
No, not the finance. The one where it allows you to see
I tried
cross
to use
section
the
of your
finance one.
vertical and how you're benchmarking
Yeah.
against other people in your vertical.
That's what Stylus does.
Yeah, so they do.
But
it.
Stylus is only against like is against like I don't know how many people, but like it's definitely under 1,000 probably
They've got
customers.
6,000.
Whereas like and then comparing against like 6,000, yeah, it definitely is just like more data.
I bet you've got some. What's the biggest revenue store? Not the store itself, but like revenue bracket. Do you know?
I know
Is
one
there like
brand.
£1 billion brands on there?
I know one brand doing $400 million a year.
Can you look at all the dashboards of every brand?
No.
No, imagine it. I bet early on you could, but not anymore.
Yeah, no. You can't.
that's some clearance.
Go on Twitter and start calling out all these frauds.
You're lying.
Got access to all their numbers.
Um,
And how about Foreplay in comparison?
In terms of size,
Well, in terms of where you see it going,
Oh.
and like, and also, well, yeah, answer that first, because see how that because where does that fit into like your involvement in Triple Whale? Do you want to keep doing both? What's the deal?
yeah. So I mean, the way I think about the doing both thing, like I've had lots of conversations with like the founders of Triple Whale. Like they're like, hey, when, I'm public with them about like what our revenue is, and like
yeah.
a lot of times they've said like, why are you still doing Triple Whale? And like I very much in what I was saying before, it's like, well, one, I fully believe in the product. Like if I had this when I was doing e-commerce, like I think my outcome would have been different. And so I get a lot of like just satisfaction from working on it. Another thing is that it keeps me focused on just like one niche. Like I do think that if I, for example, were to like leave Triple Whale, I honestly think it'd be like a couple months before I had some other fucking stupid thing that I'm working on.
Yeah.
And so right now I feel like the most focus I ever have in my entire life. If that ever changes is like when I need to make a decision. But at this point, like everything is trending up and to the right. And I feel like I'm doing like the best work of my life at Triple Whale and Foreplay right now. If that ever changes is like when I'll need to like make a decision. But up until then, I've just been like, yeah, let's just like keep working hard. And like, as long as I feel like I'm doing the best work of my life, that's kind of all that matters. In terms of like what I want Foreplay to be, it's like I want us to be like the pre-production platform for direct response advertising. And so from the point of like a media buyer needing new ad creative all the way to having the ad creative ready to go into platform, I think there's like there's a large gap that we can still fill. I look at brands like Frame.io as like inspiration for like what they did for like video collaboration as a whole. I think I can do that for like advertising, and that goes to like banner ads, like all of the other placements that exist. Like right now we're
tip of the iceberg, really.
Yeah, right now we're just doing like Meta and TikTok, and even not building that entire workflow. So my roadmap in my head is build the entire workflow for Facebook and Meta, and then eventually branch out to other platforms. Just like allowing creatives to communicate better with the media buying teams,
Seems like Triple Whale would be a good acquirer for Foreplay, no?
Potentially, yeah. I do want to sell.
That'd be the
Foreplay.
ideal setup.
Yeah, so I do want to sell Foreplay.
You sell it to a business you're involved in and reap the rewards of both.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's very like. I mean, there has been like those
like-
talks like in the past. Like at this point in my life, I have no desire to sell it.
Big parallels. Yeah.
But yeah, I want to sell it before I turn 30, and it's like my time. Obviously, timelines in your head like I don't always like work out, but the timeline in my head is like sell Foreplay before I'm 30, and then whatever, maybe like take some time off, and like in my 30s, like do like another like big swing that will probably be venture backed and like a large like kind of like my swing for the fences.
That's what I want to do.
Type thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Foreplay could potentially be that, you know, like when I think about companies like Frame.io, like they sold to Adobe for 1.3 billion. Actually like met the founder when I was in New York last week.
So how what's the revenue they're doing at that scale? Because software's obviously mad.
Yeah, so Frame.io when they sold for 1.3 billion was doing $55 million in revenue.
It's interesting because one of my investors, and a guy that came on here, sold his business to Adobe for 120 million.
Content Cal.
Was it software?
And the ratio revenue wise was the same.
Interesting.
So it was like a tenth of that.
Just to touch on, so why? I'd be interested to ask. This is a question you're not going to be answered. They're shutting down Content Cal, Adobe. They've stopped supporting it. They've stopped putting money into it. Like my housemate Lucas, who
But
runs.
it's not called Content Cal anymore.
No,
it's
but-
part of Adobe Express.
Yeah, so they've just, but like it's still a separate platform. Obviously, they bought it to just roll it in and then get rid of it. But Adobe Express just isn't as good as Content Cal, which I feel like is just a proper.
It's interesting.
A power move, like just buy it and then fuck it off.
It's interesting, like looking
Is that
at
what's
like,
happening?
acquisitions.
Interesting. I don't know.
I feel like it's like how often do you ever hear about acquisitions and then like you can like follow the path
And it just.
straight to value, you know? Like it's,
Yeah.
it's just very unlikely. Like it just
Yeah.
doesn't seem like it happens very often,
Like they
which is kind
buy-
of interesting.
I feel like they bought up probably both of those. Just
Well, you want to be in a position as a founder where you get overpaid
Yeah.
because a fund has got to move money.
Yeah, it's enterprise
It's the
value at
capital
end of the day,
cycle,
isn't
isn't it?
And I feel like for Foreplay, probably like where you see it going now and where it actually goes, it's difficult to see the end of something like that because it could spew off into so many different things.
Like when I started it, all I wanted to do, I was in like this like really weird place in my life where like the brand was gone. I was like not with my business partner, and I was like kind of just like figuring out what I wanted to do next. And like I had like very small. I when I first started it, I had like a very small vision for it. I was like, I just want to make 10K a month from this and like not have to do anything and not have to ship anybody anything and like just on subscription. And like we blew past that, and so it's like. And in that, it's like that's where it kind of like opened up to being like, oh, there's like a lot more out there, and then you start looking at other companies and like their story, and you can start drawing parallels to yours. And so now it's like, yeah, like I want to build a really big software company. Like that's
Is there a lot of margin in software then? Because like
it's pretty much
I don't
all
know much
margin.
about software, but from like other founders, I've heard that they're just fucking burning money on development.
I bet Triple
Like, does it have to be that way?
it does not have to be that way. There's definitely a significant difference between bootstrapping a software company and then venture backing a software company. And there's also a big difference between like building a team before you have product market fit and then after you have product market fit.
I was literally about to say that. I feel like that comes down to how fast you can get product market fit and how quick and how good you are at marketing to that early product market fit.
Yeah, like if you still don't have a product people like, you're burning cash fast, and like you're just like trying to bring on new developers, new product people to like figure it out. Like luckily, I knew the product I wanted to build. Like I was the customer for it, and so it wasn't as much of an exploration process, you know. Like
I guess that also comes down to what vertical you're trying to enter. Because if you're entering something like fucking, I don't know, like an example, maybe graphic design as a macro vertical. If you're going to try and compete with Canva, you're going to have to blow some serious cash to get to a product where it's even close to. That's like no one's going to try that, but like an example. Whereas if you're building something where there's a clear problem that no one else is currently solving, then it's easier to probably get to product market fit.
How long did it
quicker.
take until you had product market fit, and how did you define that you'd done that? Like just people buying it?
It's funny. I was at a dinner last night when I was talking to someone about that, because like a lot of people would say that like Foreplay has product market fit, but there was this YC article. I can't remember who wrote it, but if you just like type in like YC product market fit, you can read it. But it's like this guy describes what product market fit actually feels like. And he's like, product market fit isn't having people that like paying you every month. Product market fit isn't having people like evangelize you. Product market fit feels like people trying to knock down your door for the thing you're building. You can't build it fast enough. And like even when you build the thing that they want, they still want more and they want to pay you more. And it's like he paints this picture of like what product market fit actually feels like. And so like I would say like in that lens, we don't have product market fit yet. Like we still have to market, we still have to sell. It's not just like this like thing where it feels like it's growing faster than we could ever imagine.
Should I think of some examples? ChatGPT is a good one.
Yeah, where it's just like
they just turned to a paid model today.
Oh really?
Yeah.
How much is it?
$49 a month, I think.
So
But that means that
millions.
yeah, instantly.
Is that why it said the other day can't use it?
Yeah, well, so the paid one, that was just high demand. Like it's got to a point. It went from 0 to 3.
Well, they were burning $3 million a day on server costs.
0 to 3 million users in what, like 4 weeks, something like that. Probably the fastest growing SaaS company ever, one of. But they've just flipped on a premium model, which is $49 a month, which means you can access it no matter what the demand is.
Is that
front of the queue?
Is that a better version though? Or is it just the same?
You also get, it's the same version, but you don't get limited by like. You don't get limited by demand peaks. You get access to new releases and new updates.
Can you already pay for that now then?
Yeah, you can do it from today. But a lot of people, it's
I
hard.
barely even used it, but I probably should.
Well, there's a lot of people who have built software on top of that. Yeah. So for them, it's like they're gonna have to pay for that. And there's a lot of people, that were reliant on it. So it's probably tailored to them. And it also
they could probably charge way more.
They definitely could, but they will have just done it to a point where they're making enough.
Well, they
money.
have like an API offering as well that's like based on credits, like people that are building apps on top of it.
Oh really?
Like that's like on a credit basis where it's like that was before ChatGPT. Like when Jarvis or Jasper, whatever the fuck it's called, .ai, like they built on like the API and all that kind of stuff.
Sam Altman's a fucking nuts guy.
He'd be the next Elon Musk, isn't it?
He's already is. He's just like in some ways just in different verticals. Like he's like if you read into like his background, he's pretty mad.
I've read a lot about him.
They talked about him on like the most recent My First Million podcast.
I literally listened to that yesterday.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh my god, like this guy
didn't know he had that much money. He literally wrote a $375 million check from his own money to this.
Wait, how's he got that much money? I thought he sold some startup for 40 million.
That's what the podcast is about. It's like, how has he gone through? He was the head of YC, obviously, which probably got him into a lot of seed rounds and a lot of money.
He also was like an investor in Stripe, which is like the best investment you could have ever made in the last
decade, 2 decades, whatever. But like he invested $375 million of his own money in a nuclear fusion startup. Just like gave him $375 million of cash.
Was he a billionaire then?
Yeah, massive. Microsoft offered him $10 billion, but then he made a great quote. And he was
like a buyout? I thought they were investing for half of it.
I don't know if they actually. I think he turned him down, didn't he? Did he?
I thought the investment happened.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
I can't. Well, it was like I was reading some of the quotes he said, and like it was about like.
How old is this Donna? 35. He's a bit older.
Young. He's pretty young.
Maybe 40.
I don't know. He looks about 20. He looks like a proper fetus.
Yeah.
But his life story is pretty mad. But he was talking about like accepted investment based on like a 10-year time horizon or 100-year time horizon rather than now. And I thought it was just really interesting. You said on your most recent weekly summary that you'd had second thoughts about the VC. What made you?
Yeah, I have. Well, probably be careful what I say because I still want the right one maybe. But
like, what's made you doubt some of them?
Well, two things. I mean, I'm still going through that process. I think I was maybe naive into how easy it is and to raise money off VC is very different to angels. So we raised some more money off angels at a much bigger valuation.
Do you reckon it would have been easier 6 months ago?
Probably,
12 months ago.
Yeah. So macro conditions, arguably the shittest thing ever.
Probably the worst it could be right now.
Secondly was when I started to learn about pref shares and so on, which I didn't know anything about before.
Yeah.
And then you actually realise, which basically means for anyone watching, hypothetically, if they put £1 million in at 10 mil valuation, say hypothetically, but then the business goes wrong and we have to sell it for £1 million and they only own 10%, they would get the £1 million. No one else gets anything else. Yeah. So
it's a bit like banks. Like banks always get paid out.
That only really works if it goes perfectly. Otherwise, you get screwed and they win.
Well, it's like if you take a company to insolvency and like if a client, not that this has happened in a long time, but if a client owed us money and they went into solvency, the bank always gets the money first
because they've got a debenture or something. Yeah,
because they've got like stakeholder that they're a bigger institution, so they've got more right. Like I don't know why, but like
so that and then also. Well, I don't really need it. Like we were profitable last month.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You can grow. I mean, it does change how you approach growth.
How do you think about like? So you
can
wanted
have-
to raise VC, just like context. Like you wanted to raise VC and then decided not to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know where it came from initially. Like it came from a bunch of VCs reached out to me because the brand had loads of traction. It's an interesting space. I think it's very VC backable, and like the thing I'm trying to achieve with it definitely fits that narrative. I think. Because I'd rather go really big with it. I think it is actually a massive opportunity, blah, blah, blah. Then I just started speaking to loads of them, and I put a deck together, having never done that before, never spoke to VCs, and just went on this like process of speaking to loads of them with the intention to raise money, because I just thought, fuck it. It kind of fit the plan for next year. Mm. But then I realised, well, actually, we could just make a slightly different plan and not need to raise loads of money, which is kind of what I've done now. It's also probably a bit too soon when we're like 8 months old.
I feel like...
But then even just going through the process, I've learned so much from the things they've asked me and like the feedback they've given.
We were looking to acquire a content agency actually in North Carolina recently. So we wanted to expand into content for the agency. We were looking to acquire one that had a studio and some people and just roll it in. And we didn't do it in the end, but we went through the process. It was really interesting. So then now if I did another process, it would be so much quicker. I think for a VC, it's possible in a business to have too much cash.
Yeah,
that makes
100%.
You make fucking stupid decisions.
Yeah, I started to think that.
Like, and I also think if you pivot to profitability and then grow it profitably for a year, when you actually
especially in this market,
when you go to raise, yeah,
it's not 2020 anymore.
If you go raise money, you'll probably get way better terms.
No, I think right now is like one of the best times to be like a bootstrap startup in like the entire world, especially you can like weather the next few months. Like weather, I hate when people like be too dramatic about this kind of shit, but like like if you can like grow through the next few months or like whatever, let's just say it's 18 months from now, if like raising money is like in your future, you're going to be in a
best
tremendously higher leverage position. Like hopefully like, you don't even need to in like 18 to 24 months, because like right now you're going to be giving up the most amount of equity you're ever going to
for the least amount of money.
For the least amount of money, and so it's just like money is just like the most expensive thing right now. I don't know, for like me personally, I've always just been like, I've had like whatever offers for people to invest in like foreplay, specifically in like other things we've done in the past, and like I've just never been able to like wrap my head around like I just can't like I can't make myself like come to like do it. Like it just seems like so foreign to me of like, because I'm like, what would I do with this money?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I mean.
You know, like
it's
like a interesting.
I feel like it's easy to accept if you're like, I'm going to use this percentage for this percentage for this, this percentage for this, then have this percentage just in the bank for a bit of like safety net. And
well,
leverage.
yeah, because as like this sort of ecom business, like it would all just be like OPEX, and it would just be spending more on marketing, basically. Like, it's not like we need to fucking spend £1 million on some hydrogen cell fucking like machine or some bullshit. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's a nice idea. I would just have more dry powder in the bank, but all you would do is actually just spend more on marketing. And
you'd
that's
probably
not
do it less efficiently.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Like you 100% would do it less efficiently. You can say you wouldn't, but then when you're actually in a position where you don't need to squeeze as much out of it, you just naturally become looser.
I mean, if you look at like the public
maker.
markets, like they haven't treated D2C venture-backed companies like favorably.
No. Oh,
you know, like once
horrendous.
like once they go out of VC and like into the public markets, is like, and that's kind of like, I don't know, the public markets is probably like one of the truest, you know.
Yeah. Allbirds, horrendous. What are the
Hims isn't doing well.
Hims
like,
is doing terribly.
Boohoo, Hut Group.
What are the other ones?
There's loads of examples.
There's tons.
Yeah, there are. They're so bad. Some of the valuations from when they first floated to now are so bad.
Yeah.
Horrendous. Like some of the worst investments you could have made. Yeah, I think it would be, as you say, like it's not a bad process to go through, because now if you do it again in 12 months, you're going to rip through it.
Well, you're
way
also
quicker.
planting a lot of seeds and just build relationships, and people get to know. But it's never time wasted.
Definitely not.
And it's like a skill set in itself, I think, learning how to deal with like big investors and so on.
Yeah.
It's very different to like your mate investing, which is what happened before.
It's also like a whole other skill of being able to create leverage with capital. Like I think a lot of people think that when you get capital, that instantly the capital in your bank is now the leverage, but like the actual skill is like creating
Deploying
leverage
it,
from the capital. It's not having the capital in itself. Like the person who created capital with the leverage is the one that gave it to you.
Yeah,
but it's like having the capital in itself like isn't inherently like a leverage thing.
It's where you deploy it. and how you deploy it, through what vehicles, through what decisions, that gives you and you need like asymmetric returns on those decisions.
Yeah.
If you apply it in like a linear fashion of like 1-to-1 return, then you've literally just burnt a load of money that you got to give them, and you gave away a lot of equity for it. But if you can deploy it in the right avenues, then that's when it makes it worth it, I think. Do you think from a speed perspective, if you've got to grow a business quick, already like it makes sense, but
Yeah, like Triple Whale, for example, is not a bootstrap company. Like,
no.
For the timing and all that kind
they
of shit, like they
profitable?
needed to raise money.
Are they profitable now? They can't be far. They will have needed to raise money because of like it's such a. I imagine it's such a. I don't know. I don't understand development to the depth that is required to comment on like.
Yeah, so just on that though, a good example. Like, I mean, running 4Play now, is there a lot of overhead?
No.
Or is it really a case of once you built it, it's kind of built?
I mean, there can be a lot, like, it all depends on like how you're acquiring customers. Right now, we're acquiring customers like super profitably. Like, we don't really run on paid. It's all like a lot of product-led growth and like Twitter and
yeah, I was going to say that actually. We haven't spoken about that at all. Like, how have you marketed it and built a customer base?
So like,
if you've done no paid.
Actually, I ran like a little bit of Google ads for a while, and like it was saying that it was like driving growth, but I was like, I'm going to turn these off for a month, and then growth stayed the same. And so our biggest acquisition channels right now are SEO is like pretty good for like high intent keywords. So like when people Google like how to save ads from Facebook ad library, like we're the first result. When people search like creative strategy, we're the first result. So like that's driven a little bit of growth, but the conversion rate on that stuff's not as high. Working with like kind of like D2C influencers has been like really, really good. Building in public on Twitter. And then I ran like a survey recently amongst all of our paid subscribers. So I wanted to just know like, where did the people that ended up actually saving their credit card out come from? And like 28% was like word of mouth.
Yeah.
And so like a significant amount of our customers came from, and like even like people that say.
And 72% was the Midnight Pod.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, word of mouth. That's great. It will have been higher than that as well.
Yeah, that's like word of mouth as reported is always like lower than it actually is.
I'd call like Twitter isn't word of mouth, but it's an extension of word of mouth.
If I take word of mouth as an answer, and then Twitter is also as an answer, it's close to 50% of our growth.
I'd class Twitter is people's thoughts. Like is pretty
the reach
much
on Twitter is mad as well.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I regularly get like 50,000, 100,000 views, and I've got 11k followers. That doesn't exist on any other platform.
I find it mad the rate that he's how the features that he's brought out in the time frame that he's been in that company compared to the features that were deployed on that platform before.
Yeah.
As someone who uses it a lot, like it's actually insane how fast he's iterating on features and bringing things to market. It's pretty nuts. It makes you think, what the fuck were they doing?
To be fair, the bar was pretty low.
Yeah, it was. It was like, what the fuck were they doing?
They're just burning money and playing ping pong in a big office.
Yeah. It's like, God, it's just what he did in that company was so simple.
Yeah.
But produced such but no one was willing to do it. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Tangent. I can't remember what we were saying before that.
I think we're talking about profitability.
Yeah, so obviously Triple Whale, if Triple Whale raised, they probably are, I don't know if they are profitable, but like with that kind of amount of users and the cost of the platform, it's not cheap.
I mean, like, to be fair, like, so Triple Whale's main focus right now isn't profitability. I don't have an access to the P&L, but like our KPIs are growth right now, like not profitability.
Yeah.
So
I'm not surprised at the rate they're growing and the valuation. It makes sense. Like,
yeah, so we're growing like really, really fast. Obviously, like a company like that where it's like, yeah, you know, if we find a good developer, we're hiring them. Like, that's kind of like the level of growth that we're at. With like 4Play, it's like right now it's just like me and a developer and like a few freelancers doing like random things. And so on a month-to-month basis, like our net is like, even if I talk about like after paying our like everyone in the team in terms of the developer and myself, like our net's over probably 60% after paying myself for my time and paying the developer for my time and like all of our stuff. And so
that doesn't exist in D2C.
No, it does. The like you would never get.
It doesn't even exist in agencies, really.
Yeah,
you have to be running a very efficient agency to do 60% net.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Once you get SaaS profitable, they can absolutely print money. I guess, like, not to do your platform injustice, but your platform compared to Triple Whale is just infinitely more simple. So therefore, the cost of growth is infinitely higher for Triple Whale, but they can fund that because they've got mad product market fit.
Yeah,
7,000 e-com stores. The data that must go through that platform is mad.
7,000 e-commerce stores, all of their Shopify data, all of their Facebook ad spend data, all of their Google ad spend data. Like, it's like an insane, like
disgusting AI
it's like
play.
billions and billions and billions of events that are getting tracked on the Pixel.
Yeah,
like
it's
billions and billions and
insane.
billions a day. Like,
Do you use the Pixel for your agency clients?
Yeah.
So
Pixel's
why-
interesting
why
because
is they can? You run my
because
ads,
it's like-
not using it.
there's multiple different ways of the Pixel. It's like
Does
North
it
Beam
make
Triple
a
Whale.
big difference for you?
So it's like you have to learn to use it, if that makes sense. So like, it's not like there is no single source of data truth anymore. I don't think. From our perspective, I don't know. I don't want to like. I'm not saying the platform because we use it across every client. So it's like you have to learn how to use it in conjunction with your on platform, in conjunction with like your top lines, in conjunction with your Google Analytics. It's like it's another data point, but it's still not perfect, and it's nothing's going to be perfect because that's privacy, isn't it? Like, you're not going to get those people back fundamentally. It's going to continue in that way. But we do use it. Yeah, we use it for everybody. I think it's the best solution available from what's available, from not only from a balance of data, UX, UI, and how easy it is to teach someone to use, which I think is undervalued. Like, when you're teaching a team of 50 people to use something, it's infinitely easier than North Beam and Statless. And again, like, I'm confident that
Definitely looks better.
I'm confident that, and even like, I think it's the best now, but I'm confident over a 1 to 2 year timeline it's going to be way better than the others because it's got way more tech funding and support behind it.
we also have like a significant amount more customers than those people.
Yeah,
and like,
it's like that's
I think one of the highest value things like a customer
feedback loop.
is a feedback loop
Yeah.
of just like thoughtful customers. Like, even with Foreplay, it's just like you would be surprised about how many people are willing to just
Give you feedback.
give
if
you
they-
the most more feedback than you could have ever asked for, just like randomly on like a Friday night, and people are
Yeah.
just like, this is what I think that it should have, this is the way I want to see it, and it's just like, okay, thanks dude, like
especially
work on
early,
it.
especially early adopters. I was listening
Yeah.
to a podcast the other day, I can't remember what it was, but like there's a thing called golden cohort in ecom. I think that was my first million again, which is like your first 2 or 3 months of customers are called your like golden cohort, which I'd never actually heard of before. But they're apparently, if you actually track their LTV relative to every single customer that comes after them, they have infinitely higher LTV because they were the easiest person to convince to take the plunge on your product.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're the perfect people to ask for feedback. And like, you're probably in that stage with Foreplay right now. You're in that kind of golden cohort stage. Same with Triple Whale to a degree. Probably not quite. They're probably beyond that now, but like they were for a period. And I'm just massive on feedback loops. I think they're the most powerful thing, whether it's creative to media buyer, whether it's customer to agency, whether it's like user to SaaS projects. Like, just optimize your feedback loop and you'll make your product better, and you'll also learn about what they want, and you'll be able to bring out more features and more products.
Yeah, so a
Survey.
simple example for that for me is I kind of fucked up the first version of the product because I put like an artificial sweetener in it when I was claiming all natural, which is just an oversight for me because I'm an idiot. And then like everyone commented, it's got a fucking artificial sweetener when the whole brand is like natural.
Yeah.
And B, it's way too sweet. So I just changed it to stevia. Then overnight, all those reviews just went away.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And there's other things as well. But like, yeah, if you just listen to shit.
I think it's also like surveying why they bought it from you.
Yeah.
It's like fundamentally why are they using
I need to use
your
Typeform
products?
more.
You
So
do.
I'd never look at it.
Because you're
I've
trying
set
to
it up.
build that community, but it'd be really interesting to learn about like what your customer base is and why they bought from
Even
you
just
and who they
post-purchase
are.
surveys, I started like making them way more in depth.
Yeah.
Like, how old are you? Where
There's
are you from?
the founder of Superhuman, you know, like that email
Yeah.
ad. He has a blog post about how to find if you have like product market fit or not, and he gives you a list of questions to ask people. I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but we ran it with like all of our customers, and it was just like the most insightful like
Yeah.
survey you could have ever done. And so like it was something like if this could only have one feature and you would still pay for it, what would that one feature be? Like, if it lost one feature and you would stop paying for it, what would that... It's just like these very pointed questions that like, I think sometimes some of these like feedback surveys can be so broad that people are like, I don't fucking know, man. Like, just like...
Yeah.
Right? But if you give people like very like and the way that this guy has constructed these answers has been like, if for example, it was like some metric that if you're over 46% on this, you probably have product market fit. And I remember when I ran it, we were like a little bit over that, and it was like, okay, sweet. But the amount of like insight it gave us, like looking and reading those answers, because they're the most pointed questions ever that like allow just like normal people who like might not be thoughtful in that instance to give you like a thoughtful response.
Yeah. You can also pull that forward. You can use it in feature development, marketing. Like if you did a survey and you found that 89% of your customers were just replacing coffee with something that didn't give them jitters, then all of your resource should go into that hook and that angle.
Yeah,
and
true.
that landing
I
page,
definitely need to do more of that.
And that, like, you should make landing pages around it. Like, you should make hooks and content around it. It's like that kind of small piece of data is so massive for your resource allocation and how impactful that'll be. But no one actually does the feedback loops. Like we didn't for ages for the agencies either. We're trying to find out. We're asking a lot. I'm trying to do it for the Essence Vault at the moment, around like whether they're buying for themselves or gifting, how quickly they replenish products, like why they bought, what was the biggest hesitation before they did, stuff like that. Because it's really, really useful.
I've been meaning to set that up for ages, like way more feedback loops and shit. I made this page called like the lab. Then I realised my type form has been on a free plan for 6 months. So I'd hit the threshold like months ago. So I was not getting any responses.
Fucking terrible data set.
Classic. It was like 30 quid a month and I wasn't paying for it. It's actually fucked. Where's your glass?
Here.
What are you guys what's most like top of mind for you guys this year?
I just like making products and making fucking movies. I'm just that's what I enjoy the most.
Cheers.
Like,
I'll do.
We've literally got a movie coming out in 10 days time. It's a 10-minute film and I'm the protagonist with this girl. It's so fucking weird.
It's so 80s.
But it's just like, why the fuck not? I wanted to be a movie director when I was younger, like, so why not just actually do that with my brand? And the movie's got, I'm driving a DMC DeLorean from the Back to the Future movie.
That's sick.
Yeah. So who the fuck does that?
Yeah, that's funny. I went to school for film. That's what I went to university for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wanted to, but I wanted to be a
Sounds
documentary filmmaker. That's what I want. I just wanted to like travel and just like whatever. But then I realized when I was in university that I also like money and like documentary filmmaking and money.
Yeah, exactly. I never wanted to be a
does.
starving artist.
Yeah.
So my mate, the guy I live with, Josh, he literally is exactly what you said, but he makes loads of money. He makes film documentaries for like.
I want to do a documentary where we like follow customers for like a week using the product or some bullshit. I mean, it'd have to be kind of scripted to an extent.
Yeah,
something like that would be quite cool.
Like George Heaton just did a thing.
Like find your super fans and follow 5 of them for a week.
They do that on like quite a lot of magazines. George Heaton just did one with someone, I can't remember, where he just followed him for a day, and it's like.
Yeah, but that's him, not his customers.
Yeah, I know, but you could. That's what I mean. Like same concept that you follow someone for, and you've proved the benefits. What's your biggest focus? Like, so your biggest focus from what you just said is probably positioning yourself and hiring other people to do the other shit, maybe.
Yeah.
Or what else?
Yeah, and probably products. There's loads of product shit I want to do. Ultimately, it starts with product. I think like the culture on money Twitter and so on, particularly, not so much D2C Twitter. Well, partly that, but it's just that everyone talks about marketing. Whereas, as you've said, like ultimately, you can't polish a turd.
Yeah.
Like, there's no point trying to market if you haven't got a good product. Like, it has to start there. And I think I do have a good product, but I want more good products.
There's no better like way to increase LTV than launching another SKU. Like we're doing like mentor-pass calls for all of our team at the moment. It's like a training thing. Have you used that?
I haven't used it. I looked at it.
Yeah. So one of we've just got to the point with some of our team members where I physically can't part any more information on them because they're probably better than I am. So I'm just like, here's some mentor-pass credits, book calls with whoever you want.
Yeah, Kenny rocked. I was in Mexico with him in December.
Like, you go and speak to people who are better than me and learn. And they've all. And one of them took a call with a guy who sold an e-com brand and bought another. And he was like, he wished he'd just launch more SKUs because every time, like, especially in the first early parts of the business, because I think he said from 1 to 5 million, your focus should be on 1 to 2 channels and then launching more products.
Yeah, because we've had one SKU for 9 months.
Yeah.
So I reckon that new SKU, which is launched in 9 days, could completely double the business basically overnight.
Definitely.
I actually think it's a better SKU.
I do as well because I think sleep's a more powerful thing.
And it's actually good. I use it every day. Every night.
Yeah, for LTV it's massive. The emails have impact, but like nothing better than finding product market like fit with your customer base with a new SKU. It's just instantly going to double, like you say, not double but probably massive increase.
And new markets, like we've only been advertising in the UK for 9 months because we've sold worldwide but fulfillment's been fucked. But now we're EU with Connor's warehouse, so
yeah,
we're going live in like Germany and shit again.
think horizontal scales.
I mean, that's how to scale profitably.
So yeah,
Do a million a year in 10 countries rather than trying to do 10 in one. Because the economies of it just don't add up with like CAC and shit.
That's what we're doing with Tev as well.
Yeah,
We're
so
trying
that's
to
what I'm doing.
still scale both, but like my focus is in the agencies. I don't really do much from a day-to-day perspective. It's like marketing and position within the market. We've got a really good foothold in the UK in terms of like the brands we work with and the size we are. Like
How many employees do you have? I see like the signups come through on your team account. I'm like, how many fucking people does this guy have now?
We've now got 32 people at SAAS, and we're building a creative department, so I reckon we'll get to 40 by like maybe over 40 by the end of Q2. Then the other TikTok agency's got 20 people, so we've got about 60 people all in.
Damn.
Yeah, that is a lot.
85% of our revenue is UK at the moment, which is probably very rare for an e-commerce agency. So like our focus is US, and then also just continuing to solidify that UK position, because I think like when you consume e-com information, it's inherently focused on US markets, and I think there's an underappreciated nuance between the UK and US from a consumer perspective, from an economics perspective, and just that e-commerce market in the UK.
I need to launch in the US as well. It's so big, isn't it?
Oh, it's so much bigger.
You guys don't ship to the US right now?
I do, but I don't advertise there.
I think it's just like incentives work better, hard selling works better. People are less skeptical. Like you will find it so much easier to sell your products in the US probably, because
and there's
it's
also
complex.
there's so many brands like Mudwater, Everyday Dose, Four Sigmatic in America that are massive. And my idea was there's no one doing it in the UK basically, so I just brought it over to the UK, did it my way. But I guess it's been proven in America, so there's obviously a big pie there.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Probably doing both, but just one at a time, innit? Like EU first made sense in my mind because it's completely open.
It's hard to think how it's almost like hard to conceptualize how much bigger the US market is.
Like 10 times bigger, innit?
It's not even 10 times, but even like when you look at the incomes at the top end, the like the people who are interested in certain things, it's like exponentially bigger.
Yeah.
Like people like I don't know, we've just started working with an endurance brand in the US. If you compare people doing endurance athletics in the UK to the US, it'll be 100 times bigger in the US, not like 10 times. Just because of that, that's just the market, innit? And
yeah, it's interesting.
those two focuses, and then just trying to build a team for Tev. We're just about to get an office in London.
Is that why Connor was in London yesterday and Fred saw him in 180 House?
Yeah, we're just
wearing a Synergy hoodie.
Might be getting an office in 180 House, but I'm not confirmed yet.
Oh really?
Gonna build a team. I think like
that was a sick location.
We've got really good logistics and cost of labour, etc. where we are in Ireland, but like the talent, if you want to build like a world-class marketing team in Europe, London's the only place you can do it really. 5 people in London could probably produce the same output of 20 people in the place where we've got the logistics.
Dude, what's interesting, we have such an over-index of customers in like Denmark and Germany. It's like the weirdest thing. Like, is agencies, because it's all agencies. It's like probably like 1/3 of our customers. Really? And I'm just like, that's the fucking like, and so it must just be like a really like.
There is quite a lot of like, if you went like thinking about the Geek House we went to, there was a lot of Germans there.
Yeah,
there was
tons of Germans.
There's a lot of Germans, and a lot of them are pretty like Gem guy, for example.
He was meant to come on the pod, but he flew to Dubai when I was in Bali.
Like he's a good operator. He's doing some numbers. He's a nice guy as well. But like him and all his network, like he's got a pretty big network of e-commerce operators in Germany, like Carl, etc.
Yeah. I was just surprised by it.
How about you?
Yeah,
what are you focusing on? Given the podcast is about you.
Coffee table books only on Sundays. So right now it's
that could be his name.
It's like honestly like finding some more like growth channels.
Yeah.
Or for like coffee book only on Sundays. It's not bad. I want to find like a scalable growth channel. Yeah. Which like I don't. It's so funny. I was like talking to like Noah about this like last night. It's like I feel like that's always like what we want, but like with SaaS, it's not necessarily like as clear as like, oh, you're gonna find a channel, and like to be fair, like not that many softwares like grow using like Meta and stuff like that. So, but like I don't know, finding more predictable growth, or at least things we can like. Because right now we've got like a good amount of profit that like I would love to have like a channel to put it into, but like it doesn't exist for us right now. So finding that, and then also like eliminating some of the platform risk for the business. So like a lot of our value comes from like the existence of Facebook ad library. A lot of our value comes from the existence of like TikTok.
Yeah.
And so with that is like building a lot more features into the brief side of things. and like workflow features. And so discovering more growth and eliminating platform risk and just like making it just more of a stable business are like the two things that are like the most top of mind. And then like starting to think about how I want to like build a team and like how big we want to build it and all that kind of stuff.
Nice. Do you have a team under you at Triple Whale? So just
no. So when I started at Triple Whale, we started building a team underneath me, but it very clearly became like very early on, it very much became like I shouldn't really have a team.
Yeah.
And so like I'm kind of part of this team in Triple Whale called like Commando, where we kind of just like are like
build something.
We
quick.
build stuff quick.
Yeah.
And so
I
help very much with like the storytelling and
yeah,
and like positioning of the product and like the design of the product, and then just like getting it to market as quick as possible. Yeah. And if I were to like, it just like works out super well that way. Like if it was anything else, like I probably wouldn't still be there.
You pump out features so quick.
Yeah. Like we're working on like a lot of like really interesting like stuff with AI right now, which is just like super fun to work on because it just feels you're kind of contributing to like the future in a way.
The forefront of like very innovative.
I paid for like 500 fucking AI pictures of myself the other day.
Yeah, I saw those.
That shit on Twitter.
Yeah. Have you guys played with Midjourney or Midjourney yet?
What's that?
It's like dude, you'd fucking love it because like you can just like type in the most detailed generative.
Is that like DALL-E?
It's like DALL-E, but it's been completely trained for like digital art.
I haven't heard of that. Midjourney.
I'll show. Yeah, so it's you go in and you connect it to a Discord channel, and so you interact with it via Discord, and so you can just like write out the most descriptive thing you want. It shoots it out. It shoots you out four different options. You can.
I've definitely seen this.
Dude, I like went down a rabbit hole the other day, and I was just like making so much cool shit. Like my one friend has a company called Wizza, and it's like an email scraping platform, and it's like their whole thing is like a wizard, and I type in like wizard working on a computer with glowing coming from his computer, hyper realistic, cinematic with bokeh, and like it spit out the most beautiful, and I was like, and then I was like purple theme, and it spit out like the most beautiful shit ever, and I was just like, fuck, like.
I think I've seen them on Twitter, people being like McDonald's on Mars, not to be like nowhere near as complex as your example, but like it's just like these mad restaurant. Or
even for concept art, it's just like
one of them was like night concept stores throughout the Milky Way or something, and it was like one on Pluto, one on Uranus, one on like Mars, and it was just sick. But it's mad. Yeah.
What I've actually been using it for recently is I'm like a big believer in like vision boarding and like envisioning your future and just like being like very clear on that whenever you're like living your life. So I've been using it to create generative like AI pictures of myself in the future of like things I want, or like even just like very interesting things of like.
That's a great idea.
I'm getting on this straight after this.
You in the pink
it's fucking awesome. Like recently I made one like I've always wanted.
Does it know your face?
So no, like.
Can you upload your face or what?
There's obviously like other like those tools that do the AI face generation, but this Midjourney one, like you kind of just have to describe like a general like kind of like what you and it doesn't look like 100% like me or whatever, but like for me it was like I always wanted to growing up I always wanted to be like a race car driver, and so like for me like when I look at my future it's like I want to like have like whenever I have kids like I want to like have him like start go-karting like super early and like that's whatever. So I have like AI generate this like photo of me like coaching my son and just like little, because I just think like getting the visual, at least for me, it's just like the most powerful thing to like incentivize like action in your own life and
that's a great way of using it, to be fair.
It's like part of me was like, fuck, I don't want to build an AI tool that's like vision board.ai.
That's a good idea.
Just fucking.
It's a really
someone's gonna do that. Right, final question, which I ask everyone, which is very cliche, but if you had 3 bits of advice for your, I don't know, 16, 18-year-old self in hindsight, what would it be?
I think it would be like trust your gut has been like something that's like came up, and I look retrospectively in my life, every time I go with my gut, it ends up being something I don't regret. It's like when I try to like overanalyze shit is like usually when I'll find a situation in which I don't love the outcome. And like for me, like lean into like the chip on your shoulder, like, and don't like try to fix it. Like I've went through like a few periods in my life where I tried to like fix the chip in my shoulder because that's what people told me I should do. But I think at the current time of life, it's just like, no, like lean into that and just like you get a lot of value out of, or like you get a lot of like fulfillment,
competitive advantage almost,
and competitive advantage, just like even fulfillment of like that's you don't need to fix that part of yourself. And
that's a good one, to be honest. Better than a lot of the ones we've had.
And like I think earlier on in my life I was like a lot less patient, but there's like a lot of like value that comes with patience, especially when creating value for like a marketplace. I think you can like often look at people that like whatever, they're making like a ton of cash when they're like 19 or like 20, like inherently like those people don't actually create like a ton of value in the marketplace.
You parted a good saying on me a long time ago, which was patient in the macro, impatient in the micro.
Yeah,
like impatient day to day, but patient on a longer time horizon, which I think is a really good way of looking at it.
Yeah, I think it's very true.
Yeah.
Any closing remarks? We could probably go on for 3 hours, but people will stop watching at that point.
I don't think so. There's nothing from
if
my
people
side.
want to use Foreplay, I can give them a discount code.
Yeah, go on.
Midnight. Like
we'll chuck that. Yeah, I guess closing remark. We'll chuck that in the description to see if there's actually any audience of value watching this shit.
It's fine.
Or if they just laugh.
If you think you're of value.
If you've made it to the end of the pod, use code midnight.
Yeah, and that's good for like drop shippers as well, right? It's perfect for all that shit.
Oh yeah,
it's cheap to the value. Like if you're a drop shipper, most of your leverage comes from creating good ads.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd almost say it's probably most valuable to either a creative agency or a dropshipper, because that's where your leverage comes from. And the cost that you're going to put down to use it in your day-to-day workflow is so minimal compared to the output you're going to get for it. So
yeah, we got some DGen dropshippers like selling dick pills. Dude, some of the stuff I see getting saved in Discovery, like people selling dick pills, and dude, there's legitimate people getting ads passed on Facebook that are straight porn. Like shit, like
there's got to be some like AI thing that's getting that through.
Or they just like know someone or like paying someone off or some shit. I'm like, how the fuck are like skincare brands are having issues running ads? How the fuck are these people running like dick pill ads to like porn?
I fucking hate it. But yeah.
So if you're selling dick pills, use Foreplay. It's the conclusion. And on that bombshell, cheers for watching the pod. As always, weekly episodes. 2023, I've set a lofty goal of a certain subscriber amount, which I'm not going to say. Yeah, we're going to actually do a full year of episodes. Last year I did and then sort of didn't for like 6 weeks, and then it lost a bit of momentum and I wasn't sure about the pod, but we're back on it. It's going to be a new location soon as well with some big guests coming. Subscribe as always. Cheers for watching. Peace.